Hey, everybody, and welcome to We Watch TV. It's the podcast about the TV that we watch. I am Daniel. She is Hope. This is episode 88. We're back. And is it Christmas time already?
It is the start of the holiday season. The holiday season encompasses, obviously, the Christmas holidays. Thanksgiving. No one is skipping Thanksgiving. It's just nice to eat your turkey and your stuffing with a side of Christmas tree. And then, of course, for those that celebrate Hanukkah, New Year's Eve, New Year's, that is the holiday season. And yeah, you guys, if you didn't already know that, now you do. So yes, the holiday season is here. We actually got to see the holidays switch while we were on our trip at Disney, didn't we?
Can we throw Halloween in as the holiday season? That's kind of the start of it.
See, I consider Halloween more of just like the kickoff to fall, but I start celebrating Halloween like Disney does in August. So, I don't know. I would consider Halloween part of the obviously it's the Burr months. September, October, November, December, which I think are the best months of the year. But I mean, yeah, you know what? If you want to throw it in there, that's fine because it is part of like the best time of the year. And like I said, we did get to see the seasons change, didn't we?
We did.
And that was really cool. What did you think of that?
I mean, I knew they did that, and I knew they did it that quickly. But to be in Magic Kingdom and see all the Halloween stuff, because we were in the Magic Kingdom on Halloween,
on
October
Halloween
31st.
Mm-hmm.
And then to be there literally the next day and see all the Christmas stuff up. Was it all the Christmas stuff up or most of it?
Well,
it was mostly up.
We didn't actually go in the next day, but we saw the photos that it was mostly up. I don't think they had the tree up that Saturday, but by the time we went to Magic Kingdom, which would have been on Tuesday, and I think they were saying like by that Sunday, everything was up, like the tree, the garland, the outside, kind of like, like the entryway before you even go in, how they have the flowers, all that was finalized. It was mostly done overnight because they go on October 31st, they have the Halloween party. I think that lasts till like 1, and then they like work.
Right, and the thing is, like the Halloween party, it ends at 1.
Yeah.
But if you've ever been to those parties, it takes them 2 hours to get everybody out of the park. So the party ending at 1:00 means they're probably not getting to work until like 2 or 3 in the morning.
For sure.
To make a what o'clock? But probably 7:30 is the earliest people start actually like filtering in, even to the early parts. I mean, that they've got like 3 or 4 hours to get all that stuff down and up.
They've got to have it down, like their system down. So yeah, I think like the only thing they didn't have was that big tree, which from what I was told, that was up by like Sunday or something, because everything was up when we went back in, and that's always been, as a Disney person who obviously we do go a lot. We like it there.
Do we?
Yeah, I think so. Not as much as other people. Everyone's always like, you go there. I'm like, listen, you should see these people I follow on Instagram and TikTok. But that's a whole other story. But that's always been my goal, is to be there when the season shifts. And it just so happened, why we were down there was for the Run Disney Wine and Dine weekend, that the expo first day was on actual Halloween. And we got to experience that, and we ended up flying. So we went. That's like what we did. We went into Magic Kingdom. We didn't have Halloween party tickets, but we still got to see, like, obviously you can see all the decor. And then we got to do something that I thought was even more fun. We had a dinner reservation, and we ended up trick-or-treating while we waited at the Contemporary Resort. And it seemed to me, because I know they did it at the hotel we stayed at, and I think that's kind of like what they were doing. I'm not going to guarantee to everybody that they do this every year, but it seems like they kind of do. So if you don't go to the party and you're there on actual Halloween, there's a lot you can do.
Yeah, that was fun. I was actually, I guess, I don't know why I wasn't. I was not expecting hotel guests not going to the Halloween Christmas party or the Halloween party in Magic Kingdom to be dressed up walking around the resort.
That'd be a cool party, a
Halloween Christmas party. Didn't they? I mean, you got Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah.
That's basically what that is.
I always feel like people argue about, is Nightmare a Christmas or Halloween movie? I'm like, what is the Shannon Sharp thing? Both. B-O. He said, you know what I'm talking about, right?
I do. Yes, I'm familiar.
I like to think of that more Halloween-y just because the soundtrack is like what I like to listen to at Halloween, but that's one that you can definitely, watch all the months. If you're like me and you think Halloween kicks off in August, you can watch that from like August clear to like the end of December. But yeah, I thought it was really fun. I thought I've never been to Disney on what I would consider Halloween. Like, I know people work on Halloween, but I would still consider it a major holiday.
Right. Yeah, it's up there. Christmas, Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
4th of July, at least for U.S. holidays.
Yeah, I would consider that like a major holiday. And I've never been to a Disney park on a major holiday. And I have to say, I felt like if you're going to go to the park on a holiday, like I don't think I would ever go on Christmas Day because that seems crazy. I have been there not on the 4th of July, but the week of, and it's insane. I feel like Halloween, it just goes how I feel like Halloween is a holiday in general. Just it was very chill in my opinion, especially for Disney. Like very laid back. Like even though it was a party day, you could tell like everyone was excited for that, but everyone was just having fun because Halloween is such a fun, like less pressure, less stress holiday. Did you kind of get that vibe? Like I felt like it wasn't like crazy like I thought it might be.
It felt like the locals stayed out. And or if the locals were coming, it's because they were coming to the Halloween party later, so they weren't there during the day. And this is exclusively Magic Kingdom, of course, but it just felt like people just didn't come that morning because we weren't there.
They always say one of the best days, pro tip, to go to the Magic Kingdom is on a party day,
right?
Because if you have like a lot of people aren't going to use their one main ticket on that day, but if you aren't a night person and you want to get in some rides, it's the perfect time to go.
Specifically Halloween, because people tend to dress up, and no one is crazy enough to rope drop the park in their costume and just walk around in it all day. That would be crazy. So most of your Halloween party goers, assuming they're dressing up, they're not showing up until later in the afternoon.
And I think technically, according to the Disney rules, adults are not permitted to wear costumes in the park unless it's during a party. Just have to throw it out there. But
I'm not lugging it around in my backpack either and changing in the bathroom. No, thank you. So I'll just show up when I'm allowed to.
I thought it was fun seeing people in their costumes at the hotel. That was really fun. I thought that for that, like, if you want to do like Halloween and you don't want to be to the party, like I said, I don't think that's guaranteed, but I think that's a great thing for people to do. Like, that was so laid back. All the hotel staff that was like working in the trick or treat candy stations all seemed like they were in a really good mood. Like, everyone just seemed like they were in a good mood, which sometimes you don't get because Disney can be stressful. Like, everybody just seemed really happy and like kind of like just go with the flow. Like, it definitely was the vibe of Halloween. And I have a feeling that Thanksgiving, Christmas, 4th of July would be a totally different environment on the day of.
For sure. Halloween is a different holiday from those ones. And it's like, yeah, that would be, I would never want to be, okay. There is one thing that would get me into the Magic Kingdom on Christmas Day. They don't do it, so I won't. So I wouldn't.
They should do it on Christmas Eve, not day.
Well, sure, I guess so. But if they ever, this is my pitch, Disney. If you want, if you're listening, if you want to put this idea out there, all I ask is for credit. I'm not asking for anything else, just credit that it was my idea. But if you're familiar with A Muppet Christmas Carol. All-time classic Christmas movie.
Amazing, incredible, deserves Oscars.
You're familiar with the Ghost of Christmas Present.
I just want to give him a hug.
The big guy, he's real happy. He takes Scrooge around and shows him all the fun everybody's having on Christmas Day.
It feels like Christmas.
So here's my idea. Christmas Day, maybe Christmas Eve. I don't know. We can have that. We can hash that out. The only one day of the year he's out. He's out in the morning, he's out in the mid-afternoon, and he's out in the evening. And each of his appearances, he's the different forms, because if you remember from the movie, he starts out young and he ages throughout the course of his time with Scrooge to the point where he's an old Santa Claus looking guy by the end. And so he makes his morning appearance, then he disappears for a little while. He comes back out, he's a little aged in the afternoon, then he disappears, and he comes back out in the evening. And I don't want him to be like a parade float guy. I want him to be walking around.
You don't want him to be like a meet either, where they line up.
No.
You want it to be a roaming character.
Roams out, walks, just does his little course through, disappears, and that's it.
Kind of like what Mando does in Hollywood.
Yeah, and that would get me into the park on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. That is the only thing that would get me into any of those parks.
But see, I wouldn't even want you to get credit for that. I would just want it to happen because it'd be so cool.
Yeah, if it happened.
I think it would need to do it on Christmas Eve though, because that's the Christmas Eve. Well, I guess technically it's all happening at night,
but the Ghost of Christmas Present is technically the Ghost of Christmas very near future.
True,
because they're looking at Christmas Day, which has not happened yet because it's like 2:00 in the morning.
Spend the money on
this
that.
Is like way too specific of a thing for us to be worried about right now.
I feel like they would at least do it the 2 days then, if they're going to spend the money on that.
Fine,
him out,
no more than those 2 days.
Yeah, that would be cool. That would be awesome.
I just feel like Disney World land gets a lot more of that kind of stuff.
Watch them get this and not
Right,
Disney World.
exactly. Like they get the
California people get everything.
They get the Nightmare Before Christmas Haunted Mansion overlay,
Yep,
right? They get all that stuff, and we never get that kind of stuff. And I understand why you don't do an overlay at Disney World, because people come
from everywhere
to experience the Disney World, whereas Disneyland is a lot more localized. But we need something like that, and I think that would be the perfect little thing. Awesome. So anyways, Disney, cut me the check.
All right, so you're jumping off that now. All right, moving back along. But yeah, it was really cool to see it go from Halloween straight to Christmas, because I've always known they've done that. I've always wanted to be there for that, so I'm really glad that that's how it fell. Ooh, but back to Halloween. We're jumping everywhere. Our flight. I've never been on a Southwest flight where they had like decorations up. Like the whole flying on Halloween was, we thought it might be weird. No, it was so much fun. Like they had everything decorated like at our airport that we flew out of. And then when we landed in Orlando, like it was like a party going on. And I'm like, is this
They had like a live band or something
like
in the airport terminal, and like
playing a little Sabrina Carpenter espresso
cornhole
when I'm like getting off
for the kids to play and all this stuff. I was like,
they were giving out candy too, and they had people in costumes, like people that worked at the airport. That was in the airport in Columbus and in Orlando.
I have to feel like that same celebration is not taking place on Christmas.
Yeah,
on Christmas, everybody is just trudging through the airport, depressed that they're in an airport instead of wherever it is they want to be.
So yeah, don't get me wrong, I love Christmas, I love the holidays, but just the Halloween vibe, for the vibe check, if you're going to travel on a holiday and be somewhere, Halloween has to be it. Yeah, I really did enjoy the changing of the seasons, though. It was really fun to see the Mickey pumpkins one day and then the Mickey wreaths a few days later. And that was a really fun race weekend, kind of a challenging race weekend.
How is running a half marathon with a migraine?
With a horrible migraine, one of the worst you've ever had, I would not recommend it. I'm going to have to just go out. If you guys listen to our marathon recap that we did, because we actually ran a marathon this year, back in January, I praised Tylenol. I'm going to have to again praise Tylenol. I'm going to praise you because you helped get me through it. But this was the first time where I started feeling kind of bad, migraine headache, the day of the 10K, because we did a challenge. We had to do a 10K one day, the half the next day. And that night, I just started feeling real bad. When we were in that corral, which they put you, for you guys that don't speak runner, you start off in a corrals for like kind of crowd control.
Moo.
And they basically like cattle. They cram you in there. You have to wait. That's the first time where I've ever seriously wondered if I'm going to finish one of these races. Like, I've been undertrained before, I've been tired before, but that was the first time, like, just standing in there, my head hurt so bad. It was making me so nauseous. I'm like, I'm not sure about this. But once I used the bathroom and we got going, I was able to settle in. You made me take Tylenol right before we went into Hollywood Studios. So I took that, like mile 4?
You were like, should I take 1 or 2? And I was like, 2. Take 2.
So I took 2, and it ended up, like, I ended up feeling better, and it ended up actually being maybe the most fun I've ever had during a half, because we did more characters than we usually did, and we still ran a pretty good time. Like, our pace actually improved as the race went on, so you could tell that I was feeling better as the race progressed. But yeah, that was probably one of the most challenging races, but I think ultimately, like I told you, while the marathon felt so rewarding, I think this might be the most proud I've ever been of myself after a race, because it was so much, like, just so much anxiety and like stress going into it, and I was so worried about the way I felt. Like, how would you feel about it as being the person that kind of had to cheerlead the migraine gal?
Like you said, you got, as the race went on, you got better, and I don't know if it was just you settled in or the Tylenol was probably helping, but there was like a pretty, like, I before we even got on the bus to leave the resort, I looked you straight in the face and I said, if you're going to call it, don't feel guilty, but do it now, because otherwise it's a real pain for us to get back here.
Yeah. Have I ever slept on the bus in the morning driving to a race?
Well, I could tell you weren't feeling good just because you weren't talking.
Exactly. That's the giveaway.
When Hope is not yapping my ear off at 3 a.m. as we're getting ready to go over to these races, I know something's up.
I'm like laying down and my head on the windowsill. And you said, like, during, like, it was in the middle of, like, Hollywood Studios, you're like, I could tell you started to feel better then, because I started to get more chatty and wanting to take pictures.
Yep.
Whereas earlier it was kind of crazy. So that's probably another reason why we took a little hiatus from the podcast and didn't have an episode. Hopefully you guys all watched, watch it.
There
Watch
were
the
no
movies
other
and listen.
reasons over the last couple of weeks that gave us any reason to be super depressed and want to take an episode off. So nothing at all going on in the world or anything like that.
Anyway, we had to take a little break, but we're back, and we do have some fan mail.
Okay.
Shall I?
I'm not logged in. I've just
Oh.
completely been logged out of everything, and I don't have the time because I stupidly used a really complex password to get us in for security, and now I just can't get in. So, yeah, read them off.
Okay, here I go. Well, here I go again. I couldn't resist. Somebody out there thinks I'm funny. I promise.
If
Maybe
you're out
one
there,
person.
bless you.
So from our friend from Glen Mills, Pennsylvania, says, what playback speed do you listen to podcasts at? My wife thinks Hope talks way too fast because I listen at 1.5. Of course, I don't tell her it's sped up. And that is from John Paul Fowl. So I've heard of people doing this before. Like some of the podcasts that I listen to are rewatch podcasts, and they do this with TV shows. So I listen to the 90210 OMG podcast, and they had just talked about this, how they watch it like on the playback sped up. I don't know how y'all do that. I couldn't listen to somebody. And considering I never understood why people thought like Gilmore Girls was strange, the way Rory and Lorelai talk, I'm like, why is everyone making a big deal about this? Because that's the way I talk. I'm a yapper. I'm a fast talker. I imagine that I probably do sound like this. Like what are those people called? Like those auction people.
Oh, auctioneers, yeah.
That talk really fast.
I probably just sound like a normal person.
Maybe you're like sped up enough to sound more
I don't
normal.
listen to podcasts that I listen to casually that way. Occasionally when I'm editing this one and I have to listen back to it for like the third time for some reason, I'll speed it up just to get through it.
But a lot of people do that, though. Like, I have heard that a lot of people do that. So I can say I listen to
Power
mine
users is all I say.
Regular. But yeah, I can only imagine how fast. I never even realized I was a fast talker. It took like people pointing out to me. Like I said, Rory and Lorelai Gilmore, I never understood what the shtick was. I'm like, that's just the way normal people talk.
Okay, I'm officially just notifying you. Official notification. You are a fast talker.
All right. Well, some of the best people are fast talkers. All right, so the next, we have one other fan mail on November 9th from our friend, I don't know who this is. Who are you? From Parkersburg, West Virginia. Daniel's commentary on Hallmark Christmas movies is top tier. Still laughing over he's really into doorknobs.
I have no memory of saying that whatsoever.
It took me a minute until I went back and listened to. If you guys haven't, check out our supercut where we talked a lot about the 2023 set of Hallmark movies. I didn't understand what they were referencing until I was listening for quality control. In the Holiday Hotline movie, that's the one with like the turkey hotline.
I remember that one.
Apparently, like the guy that she like in like the love interest, the male, was like really into like old timey doorknobs or something, and I'm like, I completely forgotten about that detail until we got this comment. Until I listened to that
I wonder if
episode.
I brought up the artisan lampshade conversation when we talked about the doorknobs.
But that wasn't a real thing. This
That
guy
wasn't a
really
real
was
thing.
into doorknobs.
But it was. I could write Hallmark movies.
Okay, tell them about the lampshade thing for context.
The artisan lampshade is just we were watching one of these movies one time, and I'm constantly making jokes about them. And she said, "What does this guy even do?" Like you asked, what does the main character of the show even do? And I said, "Oh, he's an artisan. He's probably an artisan lampshade designer or something." And then like 30 minutes later, you're like, "I haven't seen one single lampshade," and I'm like,
serious.
"I just made that up."
But that does sound like a job they would have.
Yeah, it's insane. So, well, guess what? If you enjoyed my commentary on the 2023 Hallmark movies, we are loading up already. So there'll be talk about them in this episode and in future episodes. Don't you worry. And plus, Netflix has entered the chat for terrible Christmas movies.
Yeah, we're
in
gonna
the
talk about that
competition.
too.
Netflix has firmly jumped into the competition for how bad can we make a Christmas movie.
So bad it's good. Should we talk about some finales first before we get into Christmas?
So.
You guess so?
Yeah, well, one person maybe has been waiting. I don't know.
All right, it seems like it's been forever, but I guess it hasn't. What is time? But we finished Agatha All Along and Only Murders in the Building Season 4. So I say we kick things off with Agatha All Along.
Okay.
And I'm going to just say one more time, even though I'm not a good singer.
Oh, boy.
If I can't reach you, let my song teach you. Ah, The Witch's Road. Love every version of it. I need that album.
I had it in my... Did I already order it? I don't even know. It may or may not be here soon. I have no idea. For reference, we are referring, of course, to Agatha All Along on Disney Plus, the final 2 episodes, 8 and 9. We never talked about either of them.
Yes, because we were on our trip to see the seasons change at Disney and run races.
Yeah.
So what'd you think?
So I was interested to know why they released 8 and 9 together on the same day. I now know why they did, and I think that was the right decision.
Yeah.
I think it would have been really, really weird to leave where they left episode 8. And then, and episode 9 kind of needed, they really honestly could have just been one long episode.
That's kind of how I'm thinking of it, as one big long finale. I felt like it made sense to do it right before Halloween.
Yeah.
And then I'm basically considering these 2 episodes are like Infinity Wars Endgame, like kind of like
Okay.
basic. I
All
think
right.
of that as like
Okay.
one big movie. I'm thinking of this as like one big finale.
Oh, and for anybody who hasn't watched yet, this is your final warning. We're a spoiler podcast. We're about ready to dig in and go to it. So, the 8th episode ends with Agatha dying. And the 9th episode picks up, and basically the entirety of the 9th episode is a flashback, except for like the last, 15 minutes or so?
She died at the end of the 8th episode?
Yeah. Yes. All of that resolution of the Witch's Road takes place at the end of the 8th episode.
Oh, and
And
then
then
she's like, okay.
The 9th episode picks up, and it's flashback to her.
See, that's why I'm thinking of it as one big episode.
Yeah, exactly. It is flashback to her in the woods giving
With her
birth
son,
to her son, and we see
I
all
made
that
you
stuff
from scratch.
that goes down with her and Death, Aubrey Plaza's character there at the end, and it was great. I really liked it. There were a couple things that bothered me about it. I felt like it's a bold move to go with your finale episode basically to be a whole flashback. I know why they did it, because I said it from early on in the season. It was Agatha all along.
And it was.
She made the Witch's Road up, and what they were showing us in the beginning of that finale episode was her and why she made up the song of the Witch's Road and the whole theory of it. And then you start to see the kid, the teen, who we now know is Billy, realizing that the Witch's Road we saw throughout this season was a manifestation of his magic that he didn't even realize he was doing. And then, so great, fine, awesome, excellent stuff. And then suddenly he turns around in his room, and there's Agatha back as a ghost.
So?
And I hated it.
Why did you hate that part?
I didn't like the ghost effect on her. I thought it looked weird and goofy.
But
I feel
did you think that Doctor Strange looked weird and goofy with the eye thing from his most recent movie? Because that looked ridiculous. And
Is this your big comeback moment that you've been telling me?
Yes, it is.
Because absolutely,
You defend that movie.
absolutely, I thought Doctor Strange's third eye looked stupid and ridiculous. So you're not getting back at me on it. The ghost thing,
They had way more budget though for the Doctor Strange movie. Agatha doesn't have like the least budget of any Marvel show.
But the more to the point than just what I thought was the effect didn't look great. I feel like it's also cheating a little bit. Like, we've built up this character of Death who's supposed to be like, death comes for us all, except, she's a ghost now, so she can avoid it. It felt a little too easy of a way to keep the character of Agatha around.
Like, I felt like it made sense. Okay, so I'm gonna jump back and give you my opinion now. The ghost thing aside, so back to what you said about that. I thought the 8th episode was crazier than the 9th episode. Like, that's where all the action went down. That's where, we have Jen still around, and she managed to escape the road that we now know was created by another Maximoff.
Yeah.
That
And she thinks it's real. She has no reason to believe
She
it
thinks
wasn't
she
anything
beat
but
the
real.
road.
Yeah, she beat the road.
So,
And she got her powers back.
Yeah, she
So.
got her powers back because we find out that it was actually Agatha that had taken her powers years and years ago. So there was that reveal. And then there was the reveal of what does Billy want from the road. It's obviously to find Tommy. And then there is this, like, Agatha's, like, helping him, telling him kind of, like, what to do. And we do see a scene with another boy who we don't see a face of that he could, like, help Tommy's, like, mind get into that body, similar to what he did. So we have that whole element. Then we have the element at the end with we find out that Death is absolutely after Billy because she feels like he literally cheated Death. And she's basically telling Agatha, like, if you, like, she tries to cut a deal with Agatha, like, you give him to me, I'll lay off you. And then at one point you think Agatha and Billy are going to work together, but then it looks like she's going to keep her deal with Death. I think Agatha, and that's what makes Agatha so complicated and such a great character, because I do think she does have affection for Billy and that she cares for him in a way, but also she's, at the end of the day, she's going to be self-serving, so she will stab you in the back, but she's almost like proud of him because she knew this, like, proved everything. Like, she knew the entire time that, because, like, she, like you said, the witch's road is crap, it's not real. Like, she had made up the whole thing, so she knew from the moment the door opened and they were going on the road that she's like, oh great, another, like, Maximoff, like, hex that I'm into. But she's like, I'm just gonna roll with it. So she knew all along, because it was Agatha ultimately all along. So I liked that angle. I did like how he showed up to kind of help get Agatha's powers back, and he's like, don't take it off for me. And then you have that part where, you know, you think they're gonna, like, backstab each other again, but then he does mention Nicholas Scratch, and she and Death do share a very hot kiss.
Yeah, but it was a trick.
It was a trick, but it was it was more than I thought we were gonna get. So
for sure.
Bravo. The chemistry off the charts, as people have said, and we've mentioned before, the sexiest Marvel couple. Maybe not the hottest, but the sexiest. And then, like you said, Agatha ultimately does die, but then becomes a ghost, which I thought that, like, that's a way to keep Agatha around. Of course, Agatha would not go to the beyond. She's not ready. She's not ready to face her son. She's going to do whatever she can. So I think it makes perfect sense that Agatha would be a ghost. I do agree that she looked a little silly in her ghost form, but like I said, not any dumber than Doctor Strange looked with that third eye. And the flashback episode, I do agree with you. That was a bold choice to come from, like, the craziness of episode 8 to kind of come down.
Well, you see episode 8 and you're like, whoa, wait, we have one left. Like, what are we going to do?
It was like a tone shift. Like, it was just, like, so amped up in episode 8. And then that 9th episode was just so much calmer.
Yeah, it lingered quite a bit.
But you did
in a good way. It was a good lingering, but it was like... really, like, a momentum was a very different. It had momentum, but it was different.
It was just very much of just like because like I said, the last one was just chaos. But I think it worked. We got to really see how Nicholas Scratch, like, his name's just like, I made you from scratch. There's some theories online about that, but we know that, you know, Death tries to come for her baby in the very beginning. She's like, I'll give you some more time. So we find he's actually the inventor of the Witch's Road song.
I felt like to a certain extent, like, Death didn't. She said, all I can give you is time. It felt very much like Death didn't want to, but didn't have a choice. Like, there's
she didn't want to. She never wanted to.
So I think as angry as Agatha is about it, I think that some of that is misplaced, because, like, you're dating Death. What exactly are you expecting out of this relationship?
What's a common thing people always do? They always shoot the messenger.
Sure.
So like, the entire time, like, you can tell that I don't even think she necessarily wanted to get Billy. It's just part of her, like, job as Death. And it was really sweet to me the way, like, you can tell when she did take him and they were asleep, she's like, go hug your mom. Mm-hmm. Like, did you notice that? Yeah. So we got I was kind of hoping we'd get a little more insight into their relationship, which we did not. But I think for the sake of time, if they do a season 2, I think you can absolutely dive into that. But as I was saying, it was actually Nicholas Scratch that wrote the song, The Witch's Road, because he would sing it, and then Agatha kind of took her grief and remembered that song and came up with this whole scheme, and that's how we find out that she was taking the powers from the other witches. Because when Billy is confronting her about it, he's like, I can't believe I actually killed, like, what do you say? I actually killed Sharon. She's like, who's Sharon again?
Yeah, that was,
so we got that joke again. Great. Awesome. And Lilia, and she's like, well, actually, she's like, I was going to kill them all, so you ended up saving, some of them. It kind of like, you think about the whole Witch's Road lore, though, and like how Alice's mom did the Lorna's version to kind of protect them from the curse, and then you find out it's all crap because it was ultimately what? What was it?
Agatha.
All Alone. I thought it was a great finale. I thought the series, just in thinking of the series, I have not been that excited for a Marvel series or movie in quite some time, probably since Loki, if I'm being honest. Like, I did think the most recent Guardians of the Galaxy movie, while being a huge bummer, I did think that was really good. But I'd say that this is right up there for me. Like, it is probably I'm going to say it's honestly, I think it's my favorite. Like, even over Loki and WandaVision. I like the spooky element of it. I loved it. I loved the cast, which obviously, because some people did die on Billy's fake Witch's Road. We won't get that entire cast again. I hope they do a second one, or that they find a way to have some third type of season where Billy's going after Tommy and like Agatha's kind of still hanging around, because those two have good banter and fun together. And I want more. I want more of that from Marvel.
The word I've seen is they're doing a show called Vision Quest next, which is about the white version of Vision, which is the real Vision. And I have a sneaking suspicion that Billy and his brother resurrected and Agatha will probably sneak their way into that one, and that will kind of like be the closing chapter of this series, which I consider just one show, but they have different.
And didn't
names.
Kevin say that there are plans to bring Wanda back at some point, or is that still?
There's rumors all over the internet right now. It is, in my opinion, almost guaranteed that she will return in some form or fashion throughout the next few Avengers movies, probably playing a big role up against or with Doctor Doom.
I love Wanda, and I was hopeful that we would see her in this series, but probably by about episode 2 or 3, I'm like, I don't think we're seeing Wanda. I was like, I think the goal, if that is Billy, like, I think it's going to be to find Tommy. And I know in the comics, the two of them, they do find Wanda together. And I think there were some fans that were very disappointed that we didn't get to see Wanda at the end and felt a little ripped off. But I felt like, I don't think, like, it wasn't the show. That's not her show.
No, I think they've got to learn too that, like, the same way that the Phase 1 of the MCU started out and then ended with Endgame, you got to let this stuff slow burn.
Yeah.
Like, the emotional impact, I think, will be a lot bigger if once the brothers are reunited and they've done all this stuff and they've fought their way through, and then there she is suddenly at the end. I think there will be a bigger payoff than if she had just randomly showed up here at the end of this series. So I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I hope they do. I want more. I want to see Agatha again. Catherine Hahn knocked that role out of the park. I want more.
They need to find a way for her to, like, incorporate a little bit better and just be regular Catherine Hahn. And because if she's the floaty, part see-through ghost the entire time she's back, that's not gonna work for me.
Well, I mean, maybe she can make another deal with death, and she can use her feminine wiles to get that to happen. Or they are witches. Maybe there's some kind of spell that they can do.
Yeah, they can hand wave that to make it easier. No question.
Can you give me a down, down,
no.
down, down, down the witch's road? You don't want to sing? Yeah, are you just gonna let me sing it all the time, forever and ever?
I'm hoping that it'll let up at some point, but
I don't think it will.
I'm not sure it's ever going to.
Especially if we get that album. Well, we had another finale that we watched. We watched the season finale of Only Murders in the Building, and we watched this after we got back from our trip, and thankfully I wasn't spoiled. And honestly, if I had been spoiled, I would have been like, yeah. Loved the season as a whole. Loved it. I thought this season as a whole was better than last season because I had the trio together the whole time. The finale, while it wasn't, I wouldn't call it bad, but it wasn't like their other finales have been with the reveal. Sadly for you, it was not Scott Bakula. He was never
He
mentioned
didn't.
again.
Yeah, he didn't even come up again. What a missed opportunity.
It ended up being the guy that was posing as the writer that really was ultimately the murderer of Saz. And it turns out he had stolen her screenplay, which was going to be about the only murders in the building, about Charles. And that's what she was wanting, I think, to talk to Charles about. So that kind of, like, I always thought that somebody was after Charles. So they did get me there. So it ended up being like he did intend to kill Sass, and he did. I think you kind of were on my wavelength. Like,
Yeah.
we always thought that the bullet was intended for Charles, and that there was going to be more to it there. So yeah, the finale for that felt a little flat for me.
It felt real flat. Yes, not just the finale, but also like the tease into season 5.
What was the tease again?
Tia Leone shows up.
Yeah, that's right. She
for
shows
what
up.
seems to be unrelated, but then the doorman is dead in the well, or in the
that's
in
right.
the fountain in the middle of the courtyard, and it's just like, this season is like the mere opposite of last season, in that
How so?
Everything all the way up to the last episode this season was great, and then it just petered out and dropped the ball.
So you agree with me that
this
season was better
Whereas
as a whole
last
than last
season was just like, what are we doing? All the way up until like last 2 episodes, and it was great.
And it was great again. I have confidence that season 5 will be great, because just when those three are together, the trio, I think it's magic on screen. So I'm like, just keep giving them mysteries, keep doing whatever you want with them. But I definitely hope that we can, especially if season 5 does end up being the last season, hopefully we can have a bit more of an exciting finale like what we're used to.
Yeah, it just the tension was just like broken immediately, because they revealed the killer was the writer at the end of the seventh episode. I don't know how many episodes they had. And then like the rest of the finale was
the
just
second to last episode.
The rest of the finale was just dealing with that, and there was like there was no mystery in it. There was no, oh my gosh, all of a sudden it was just like, here now we're going to show you how all this came to be, and it's like, okay.
And I didn't really care about that
guy. And I didn't care.
He'd
done nothing. He'd never given me anything. The other villains,
just Looney Tunes.
Other villains throughout the murderers, I won't even say villains, other murderers throughout the seasons prior have given, you felt something about them. And this guy, I didn't feel anything for him.
Yeah. As a whole, though, I would still put this show in my, conversation for best thing going, because finale aside, like, you can have, like, let's circle back to The Boys of the summer. The season of The Boys was kind of lacking, but then their finale was insane.
Yeah.
I think ultimately, if I were to choose, I'd rather have a consistently good show, unless you have a horrible, awful series finale and then you ruin your show forever beyond compare, like How I Met Your Mother. But that's a whole other topic. But anything else you want to say about Only Murders before I get into another finale that made me mad?
No, I was a little disappointed by the finale. I thought maybe there would be one last. I was kind of hoping for one last.
You wanted
twist.
the Scott Bakula.
I did.
Reveal.
I really wanted it to be Scott Bakula, and I just don't think that I should have been robbed of my victory.
They should have at least mentioned him again, because the way he was dressed, I can see that. But moving right along. Outer Banks Season 4 Part 2 dropped on Netflix. There's a lot of TV that welcomed us back. I watched it and I hated it. I cannot believe that what happened to you with Rise of Skywalker, where you found out the plot like a year before, ended up being true. So on the Outer Banks Reddit, I saw these supposed leaks like literally a year ago. And I'm like, if they do that, that's so stupid. They should have just ended it. They should have ended the show at season 3 when they got the whole like El Dorado, whatever the heck, treasure, and they all got their money. I would have been good for that to be the ending, because going forward, I watch Outer Banks as like an escapism, a fun show with, an attractive cast, teenage, well now I guess like young 20s shenanigans, treasure hunting fun. I don't watch this show to cry and be angry and depressed. And again, remember, spoiler podcast, so jump ahead if you don't want me to say this. Or maybe you read it a year ago like I did. When you kill off my favorite character, it's going to be real hard for me and a lot of people to join in on season 5. I'm only going to be there for season 5 for Rafe Cameron's possible redemption arc, because now you got rid of JJ. JJ, he was like the heart of the Outer Banks.
Is JJ the one that was going on a rampage, tearing up that town?
Yes.
Just like causing all kinds of damage.
Yes.
And setting stuff
They
on
deserved
fire.
it.
Okay.
For the way they treated the Pogues. He had just been betrayed. He's found out that he has both of his dad that raised him, piece of trash, betrayed him. His biological dad ends up being the one to kill him. What the heck? And it really makes me mad that I know the supposed offset drama is what led to this. And that makes me even madder because I've seen this film before.
These actors these days are soft. And they just can't handle it. They don't have their stuff together because everybody in One Tree Hill hated each other. And they came to work every day and did their job.
Sophia Bush and Chad Michael Murray were literally married, got divorced, and had to film love scenes for like 2.5 seasons or something crazy like that. Like intimate scenes. And then they still, even when their characters weren't together, they were always on set together. And they made it work. And I guess in the Outer Banks, this is what I'm going for, the offset drama, that JJ and Kiera, I think her name's like Madison Bailey and his name's like Rudy something. I don't know. I just call them JJ and Key. Their characters, and this has been proven because people have the pictures of it, had to use body doubles to like do cuddle scenes on the beach. Meanwhile, the actors that played JJ and Sarah, or not JJ, excuse me, John B. There's too many J's in this show. John B and Sarah literally lived together and dated. They literally lived together and dated and broke up. And now I think she's actually, gosh, Pete Davidson does well for himself. I think she's actually dating Pete Davidson now. And which, you know, I get it. He's funny. I like funny. So I'm into it. I don't know why guys are always like, why does every girl like Pete Davidson? Because he's funny. We like funny. Anyway, so the John B actor, Chase Stokes, he's dating like some Kelsey ballerina. I think she's like a singer or something. Country. I don't really listen to country music.
Ironic given her last name.
Yeah, you were going to say she's a ballerina? No. But those two can do their scenes just fine. These two, I guess it's because they're significant others, like, did not like fans shipping the characters and shipping them in real life. So then they like couldn't even do like scenes, and that they were like the couple that I shipped from like season 1. So we finally got them together in season 3. Another reason why season should have ended with season 3. And then I thought that maybe they had less scenes in season 4 because JJ was going through some stuff, finding about his parentage, and then just they're not as like touchy-feely romantic as like John B and Sarah are. And then to come to find out that that's not only a reason why the guy that plays JJ supposedly asked to be written off the show, so they're like, well, fine, we'll kill you, and why we had less scenes, I feel extremely robbed as a fan. And you are exactly right. And thank you for bringing up the One Tree Hill thing, because if I was a producer, especially for like a young show, I think that'd be my first rule. I'd be like, no dating. Like, I know it's probably really hard with like a hot cast. Yeah, that'd probably make them want to date even harder. Like, it's just, I'd be like, if you're going to date each other, then you have to sign this contract that you're going to be like professional. And then I guess the writers have tried to like be like, oh, it was always in the plan for JJ to die. Please. I think that's why they barely promoted part 2, because they knew it was going to tick fans off, because he is like the fan favorites. And I'm like, okay, then fine. They could have like, because he, like, as you said, he did bust a bunch of windows. They could have thrown him in jail and sent him
a bunch of windows. He set that whole town on fire.
Quiet. We love him. He was tricked into all these things. They could have sent him to like prison, or maybe like sent him like away, and like still not had him completely like, is now that he, unless he pulls a Ward Cameron and comes back from the dead, or they wish on this crown thing that they're after and they can bring people back to life, then he's gone, y'all. Like, I've seen it all, like, because if you don't follow the behind the scenes stuff, like, I don't think, like, it's just, so Rafe Cameron, he was like a villain. He's like already murdered people. Like, he kind of started to have a redemption arc this season, and he's Sarah's brother, and they actually hugged it out while they were, by the way, they were in Morocco for all this. I was like, I've been to Morocco. Now, that's the only reason I'm going to watch season 5 is for him to have a redemption arc and for Key to go on, like, you know, revenge for JJ. But Outer Banks, that's not what we wanted. And I'm irritated that yet again, another show that I watch, offset drama, has contributed to the actual plot. Now, One Tree Hill people could come for me and be like, oh, hey, Hope and Daniel, it was supposed to be Peyton and Jake and Brooke and Lucas. okay, I could see them maybe ending up together, but I agree with what the girls have said on the Drama Queen podcast, that they were each told different end games, because I feel like I'm sorry if you don't like Peyton and Lucas, that's your problem. Like, it was always Peyton and Lucas, right? Even when Brooke and Lucas were together, like, he was always, like, still talking to Peyton.
I don't care what the writers of that show say. I don't care what the actors on that show say. The fact of the matter is that 4-season arc of One Tree Hill, the first 4 seasons, leading to the championship game, and then Peyton and Lucas getting together, and it's you. That was how it was meant to be.
Yeah.
And that was how it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I don't care where they think, writers will, maybe I should do, maybe I should.
Yeah.
The thing that is supposed to happen happened.
Yeah. And Brooke and Lucas were a cute couple, but when you go back and rewatch that, I promise you, especially when they're together in season 3, you're going to see that there are hints of him and Peyton still the entire time. And Brooke Davis is probably one of my favorite characters from One Tree Hill. And I'm like, if you like that character, wouldn't you want someone better for her, than Lucas? Lucas was meant for Peyton, so ultimately, that's a whole other thing. So anyway, yeah, that's the Outer Banks. And I'm mad about it.
Sounds like a dumpster fire. Will you watch season 5?
I just said I will watch it for Rafe Cameron's hopeful, more redemption arc.
What if they double down on him being a villain?
I don't think they're going to, because I think they know that they have a lot of JJ fans also like him. I think they know what they have done, and that they're going to have to make it right. I still want JJ to come back from the dead, but I don't think that's going to happen.
All right, and now here we are, everybody's favorite time of year. It's Christmas time. We've watched some Christmas movies. I'm air quoting. I'm air quoting as sarcastically as I possibly can right now. Some movies about Christmas that we're going to talk about for 2024.
Because somehow we were talking about One Tree Hill, which you brought up, not me, missed opportunity for you to lead in to the first Hallmark movie that we watched, because it starred the guy that played Clay on One Tree Hill, Fugue State Clay, from the later when he joined in season 7. Remember?
Oh, I forgot all about it.
You could say you were in the Fugue State.
Yes, very much so.
Clay was basically like the Lucas Peyton replacement. That was season 7.
Forgot about his kid.
Yeah. So Clay was in a movie called, what is his name? I gotta find out the actor's name now. Talk about the movie while I look that up.
Oh, that would require me remembering the movie.
It was called Twas the Date Before Christmas.
Okay, so in this movie, in this film, in this made-for-TV Christmas Hallmark
spectacular.
Robert
Buckley, that's his name.
Robert Buckley agrees to is it a Christmas Eve?
Yes.
Date with a woman because she just needs a date, but they're not dating.
I love the fake dating trope.
And
it's probably my favorite trope after enemies to lovers.
They get together. They have like 5 seconds of like, okay, sure, yeah, well, fine. They share zero information about one another that would help them in this endeavor, because the idea being they're like, you don't just take somebody you met 5 minutes ago on a Christmas Eve date. So you would assume that if she's bringing this guy home to her family on Christmas Eve, like they've been together for a little bit, and right?
That's what she tries to make her family
think.
Okay.
And so, but they
without
share
telling him
zero information with each other about like things that you would need to know in order to answer questions.
I'm going to back you up about it. Why she, okay. So her, obviously like her fiance or something like died.
Dead fiance, take a drink.
So she's really sad about that, and her family's like, you know what? The whole point of their Christmas Eve, they do the Christmas Eve Olympics.
Oh gosh, I had really fugue stated that one out of my mind. The main thing
of the movie, and they're like, well, we're not going to do the Olympics this year, and she's like, no, I don't want you to change the tradition for me. I want to do them. She's like, I have a boyfriend. It's fine. I'll bring my boyfriend. And his friends had matched him with somebody. He was like, yeah, what the heck? I'll go on a date on Christmas Eve. And then when they get to the house, she's like, this is my boyfriend. He's like, what? And he kind of rolls with it. They have a side conversation, and he agrees to stick around, and then they play the Christmas Olympics.
Okay, but when he agrees, at no point do they go like, okay, here's my last name.
Oh, and you find out the other plot, like her sister-in-law her sister was a witch. No. Her sister.
We'll talk about that next week.
Her sister-in-law owns like a candle store, like a brick and mortar.
Oh, yeah.
And like he is like
It's
trying.
about community.
Yeah, he doesn't have an online presence because his credit card got hacked once. We do find that out in the movie. That was weird. But like he's primed to be the CEO of his dad's company. I think his dad is dead too, right?
Dead parent, drink.
But like he's kind of like, not totally taking charge yet, and his company is wanting to buy that building for a good purpose, for low income housing.
Yeah, they really tried to make him
like they weren't like an evil
since
company.
He has an ownership, since the main character has an ownership stake in this company.
Yeah.
They're trying to make sure it's not like big evil corporation.
Yeah.
So it's like, we're going to tear this building down to make affordable housing.
Yeah.
But we still need you, small business, to get out.
But they don't find out until like partway through the movie, and then she thinks he only agreed to the date to get to her because she's related to the person, blah, blah, blah. So that was like your little bit of conflict, and is she ready to date or not? Other than that, like kind of nonsensical storyline, I think this was a fun Hallmark movie. It was a good one to start with. Like it was the format of the Christmas Olympics was funny, and they never were like, I love you. Like it was basically like, hey, let's agree to go on a date. And then have your kiss at the end. It wasn't like, we are in love from spending 5 hours together.
At the end, they're like, oh, we'll see each other again. And even somebody's even like, well, we'll see you next Christmas. And he's even like, hold on, man, it's just been one date.
And I liked the format of the Olympics. I thought that was some funny, silly shenanigans. I thought the two leads worked well together. I think he is, obviously I remember him Clay from One Tree Hill, but I think Robert Buckley, who's been doing a few Hallmark movies now, I think he's one of their better. I think they need to keep making him do the movies, like throwing money at him to do
him. He is a slave to only dance for us for our Christmas enjoyment.
Yeah, what you said yourself that
you've
seen way worse.
I've seen way worse. I have seen way worse.
And you liked it that we had a big talk about this. You liked it that they weren't like, oh, I love you immediately.
No, that was one of my favorite parts. It was like almost like suspicious. The kid that was like, see you next Christmas to him, and he was like
they could
down,
totally
man.
do a sequel of this one and like see how things are going and have a second Christmas
They
Olympics.
Shouldn't, but
they totally could, and I think they should. I felt like too, like when we were first watching the format, I was like, how are they gonna? It's gonna be like a day that they're spending together. I'm like, how are they? And they ended up not like making us think that it was this epic love story in one day. Like it was actually done very organically. Like she's like, oh, I think I'm ready to date again. So that's why I think we could have, possibly a sequel. The aunt, was it her great aunt that was in charge of the Olympics? We had that whole joke
the
about
intense
like
old lady,
her like rideshare driver.
Yeah.
She's like, he's my rideshare driver, but like everybody knew it was her boyfriend, so there was that funny joke.
Had a weird stepdad, which is always
liked aprons.
Weird stepdads are always an A+ in a
he
Christmas
was like
movie.
a weird in a good way.
Yeah, weird in a good way, but
like you could tell he didn't like the Christmas Olympics either. He just kind of rolled with it.
I'm married into this stuff, so
I want to do a Christmas Olympics.
I don't.
You don't think you could win
do we
rap
not
contest?
I guess we don't. I guess the 5K we run is on Thanksgiving. So I guess you want to go outside and like you want to get a couple shot puts, and we'll go outside on Christmas Day and see who can toss.
We did our gingerbread things last year. Our gingerbread houses.
Whose house didn't fall down?
Okay, yours house did end up falling down.
Only because you crushed it.
No, I didn't.
My house did not fall down.
Like, remember, I was talking about Will's house. It completely fell down. Your house was
My house did not fall down.
Gabby's
somebody
was the best house.
Sabotaged it.
Oh, please. See, this is why I think Christmas Olympics would be very good. What's better than yelling at each other on the holiday season?
I'll tell you. Hot snowmen.
It's not a snowman. Oh, it is a snowman.
I got a perfect transition, and she's like, "What are you talking about? It's not a snowman."
No, it is. You know what I was thinking about? Santa, like hot Santa. I love Santa. Okay, not a Hallmark movie, but stars the queen of Hallmark movies, who's did a Hallmark this year, and this was, I think, her first Netflix. This is a Netflix holiday movie called Hot Frosty. For all these Schitt's Creek fans in the room, Ted from Schitt's Creek plays the Hot Frosty.
And it was also a hot pile of garbage.
It was probably horrifyingly bad, but it was one of those that was so bad and cheesy that it was actually entertaining. Yes, it was. Now, you said what you had one very nice comment about it. Please say what it was, or I will remind you what you said.
Remind me what I said.
You're
Give me
like,
a little.
I can tell the budget on these Netflix ones is way better because this looks way better than the Hallmark ones.
It looks like a proper movie as opposed to a made for TV.
The Netflix movies always look really good.
That is the nicest thing I will say about it.
I had high hopes for Hot Frosty because I was like, this is going to look really good. This is going to be awesome. And it was really bad. It also has that woman. She has been in like her own sitcoms on like, I think like ABC, maybe NBC. I don't know. All I know her is from Four Christmases, Mexican Dude.
Oh, yeah.
You have to say what it is.
Oh, Ricardo Montalban.
What I can't wear to CrossFit.
Miniskirt.
I'm not going to say the other one. Yes.
Screensaver.
And that's all I ever think of her in. And she plays the doctor in town, kind of a wacky little doctor. Okay, so guys, basically, again, we have a dead husband.
Dead husband, drink.
Lacey Chabert's character named Kathy. So her house is falling apart. It really does kind of start off like a horror movie. There's like dampness on the steps from a leak. It's cold in her house, but she runs this diner. So she's been, she hasn't really opened herself up to love or anything. What better time than the holiday season? So she is, working at a diner. She goes to it's in this like creepy little town. I felt like the town was creepy. I'm just going to say it right there.
A creepy little town.
So she goes to like this thrift store and this woman's like, here's this magical scarf. It's just like the one that my husband wore the night I met him. And she's like, okay. So then she's walking around and I really want to know what had happened if she had put the scarf on like the regular looking snowman.
Yeah.
But instead she chooses the one with like chiseled abs. She puts it on him. She takes a picture of it. You see this little wink. And then he like comes to life.
And then you see it's a pan out shot. It's a pan in
this
shot.
This is what you don't get on Hallmark.
It's a pan in shot on the snowman turning from snowman to man naked with just the scarf to cover him up. I do have to ask a question.
I've been making a man.
Who made this snowman?
I think that the people at the thrift shop did, because I think that half this town is snow people come to life.
Because I just want to say,
theory.
I just want to say that, like, from a structural standpoint, there's no way that you could actually make a snowman like that.
It was more like ice sculpture.
Yeah, ice sculpture you could do, but a snowman.
Hey, but do you not agree with my theory that half the town are snow people that have been brought to life?
I do, except for the one point, the point that I was waiting for them to pay that off, even with just a frisky little
like
wink,
a frosty little wink,
right? They never did. They never paid it off one single time.
Maybe
all she said was
they wanted you to think about this movie and make your own interpretation.
Well, I interpreted that it is crap.
Hot Frosty is meant to make you think and challenge your brain.
It made me think about bowel movements.
But yeah, I think half the town is. So I think definitely the one woman's husband was a snow person. I think they all knew about it. But like the doctor like easily was like, oh, well, I guess he is a former snowman. I think she might have been a snow person at one point. I think that, and then like when the whole town finds out, they're all just very accepting of it. They're like, oh,
they
okay.
are. Yeah, you're right.
Which makes me think half of them, and maybe maybe as you get into being a human, your memory of being a snowman, like, or snow person, like fades away. Like just as snow your memory, it melts of that. Just like, hear me out, like, how snow melts. It melts, like, so your memory melts, and then you just are like, well, I've always been a human. I've always been a person. I've always magically had a social security card. I've always had my backstory. And that's because, like, the whole, like, that no one, because basically, y'all, like.
He got a job at a school.
I think he just kind of showed up and they let him help.
He said he got a job.
Oh, okay. Like.
Okay. Because if he showed up, wait. Because if he showed up at a school and they just gave him something to do, that's any better.
Another thing you don't get from Hallmark is horny older ladies.
No.
So maybe one of those older women like hired him, like that. All that part was funny, like the ogling over him. But then it kind of made me feel uncomfortable because it went on a little too long. But like the whole like thing with the scarf placement when he did come to life, like that's stuff that you're gonna get from Netflix that you're not gonna get from Hallmark necessarily. Like it's a
full frontal male nudity.
But yeah, I think the whole town was snow people, because at one point we got this whole other side plot. They're trying to of Daryl from The Office and Charles from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, who are like, he's like the sheriff and that's like his deputy in town. So we got that whole thing going on. They're trying to figure out who this stranger is in their town. They're like, we don't recognize him. So they put him in a jail cell that's hot. So obviously, Frosty's going to melt.
He's melting out.
And they called him Jack, like Jack Frost, right? That's like what
she called him.
Yeah, that's what his name is now. So they have to like bail him out, and the whole town was very like accepting of it. Like when they found out he was a snowman and like helped bail him out. And then you think he's gonna like be totally melted, but then True Love's kiss. This movie had all the elements though. True Love's kiss brings him like back to life, and then suddenly, because she didn't have, was it cash only to bail him out?
Yeah.
Because it had to have been, because suddenly for Christmas she's like, I'm getting us a trip to Hawaii, and I'm like, how are you going? Do you have an ID? Then I'm like, how'd you have all that money to come up with Hawaii, but you couldn't fix your house, and then you couldn't help bail him out? Like I think
she took him to the
I
store.
think the house fixing thing was because of like her sadness over her husband.
Sure.
Oh yeah, the shopping spree.
They went on a shopping spree to buy him like clothing.
We also got a makeover montage, like shopping montage, not really makeover montage, but shopping. Those were like expensive suits.
This was a very odd film.
So if you think we sound psychotic talking about it, that's basically because the movie, it was all over the place. But I'm going to give it one of those ratings of so awful, you have to see it, because it's so awful. It's like, what am I watching? And you'll have to let me know if you think that at least maybe not everybody in town, but I'm going to say at least 2/3 of the town are snow people come to life.
The only one we really got hinted at was the husband of the shopkeeper lady.
See, I thought they were all too like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Well, they were all very oddly accepting of he was just
a medical doctor was like, yeah, he's a snowman.
Well, if she was a snow woman at one point, she's not a real doctor, because he's a handyman now, but he's learning it all from YouTube and TV.
Yeah.
So none of these people are credentialed.
Okay, so we also watched some more Hallmark movies. You guys are just going to have to wait for another week to find out those. Get the Hallmark app. I talked about this last year, and you can follow along and check off the new ones. There are several that Daniel was so lucky and fortunate to watch, and I've watched a few on my own. And we will talk about those next week. And we will also talk about some other shows that we have been watching. We have been watching Shrinking. Probably at this point, we're going to kind of give what we think of the season, just the way things are going. We also have to talk to you guys still about Abbott Elementary, Ghosts. What We Do in the Shadows is back, and it's as great as it could possibly be. So good. So happy that show's back. And we also wrap Frasier Season 2. And we will talk about the Frasier finale, and I don't know if we're getting to season 3. We'll talk about that all next week. But before we sign off, today, since this episode is out today, we have the Dancing with the Stars semifinals. Dwight was eliminated, so he is gone. So our semifinalists are Chandler, Danny, Joey, Alona, and Steven. Do you think it's going to be a 5-person finale, since apparently it's going to be a 3-hour finale, or do you think someone's going home tonight?
If it's not 5-person, then what are they going to be doing with those 3 hours?
Hopefully never an instant dance again, because I hated that.
That was terrible. Yeah, I think they'll just carry all 5 of them, and I think the reason they're going to do it is everybody seems to kind of like all of those people,
yes.
And so they just want to keep all those viewers
yes.
coming into the final, although I still have a sneaking suspicion. Now, we are at the point now where I do believe, and I want to make sure it's very clear, I like Alona. She was, going into the season, the person I was looking forward to seeing the most, and she is the person I like watching the most. She is by far not the best dancer, not deserving of winning, but if everything I'm hearing on the street, if my sources, and by sources, of course, I'm talking about you,
my sources
are correct, she's going to win.
Yes. Do you think
regardless of how... Well, like, think about it. So this is semifinals coming up, but in the finals, basically everybody gets 10, right?
Typically, yes.
Okay.
I think
she's not even got a 10 yet, or she got 110, I think, in this last episode. Like, she's not progressing, I feel like, in the same way that a lot of the others are progressing. She's getting better, but she's not doing it.
I thought this last week was her best dance. Her quick step.
I agree.
That was finally what I've been wanting to have from her. Now, she was probably my second favorite who I was looking forward to watching. I was mostly looking forward to our other Olympian, Mr. Steven, who, as I've ranted about, the judges have been hard on. And Steven, that was his best dance of the season.
Yeah, I agree.
And they said they had to do Charlie and Mark's dance, which was like the best dance I'd probably ever seen on Dancing with the Stars.
But are either of them better than Joey?
No. Or Chandler. No.
Or Jen, who's not even on the show anymore.
I could rant all day about Jenny.
So again, what I'm saying is I don't think the best dancer is winning this season.
And that tends to be how the show has gone over time because it is a popularity contest. A lot of times they do get it right and they line up, but I would say the best dancer of the season is Chandler. And I think if they do a 4-person finale, I am worried that Chandler is not going to make it.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm still going with my bold prediction that Joey's going to win it all because I still think we're underestimating the Bachelor audience. That being said, if the sources are true and Alona is killing it like people say she is in the fan votes, then she will win. I'm not going to say it's not deserving because I think it's very, like when Bobby Bones won, he was kind of a jerk on the show and didn't try. I do think Alona's a hard worker, but she is, I think of the 5 dancers, she is the weakest one.
Yes, I agree.
Although Danny, I don't think Alona's any.
They're kind of on the same level for me. Like they've both got the charisma, but they are not as good as the other 3 dancers.
And I think
when it comes to the technical parts.
People are acting like Danny's like better than Steven and everybody, and I'm like, Whitney has done amazing choreography with him, amazing lifts, but when we see Danny actually dance, I don't think it's very fair for people to even be like, oh, Alona's worse than Danny. Like I would say they're more even. Then I'd say Steven's a little bit above both of them, despite what judging says. Yeah,
he is still struggling with rhythm.
Yeah, and he got a lot better at that. He worked on that. It's going to be a tough week for him with the 2 dances tonight. But I'd say he's a little bit better than those ones. But yeah, Joey and Chandler are just, which is so funny because I think of Joey and Chandler from Friends every time we say this. I hope, though, it's a 5-person finale and that they can all compete because I think it would be really sad if Chandler goes home.
I agree, yeah.
And I will be personally mad if Steven goes home.
I think, to be honest with you, Hope, I think that might be another reason why they're leaning towards a 5-person is because like they've got good dancers that are on threat watch. Of going home, and they're going to be like, well, let's just keep them, even if they don't have a shot at win. Let's give them their opportunity to do their freestyle and go from there. So, anyways,
anything else you say?
No, back to the grindstone. Watching all this TV for your entertainment.
What about our scheduling going forward?
And we'll talk about this again in future shows, but I would say that like we had a gap between the supercut that we released last couple weeks ago and then this episode today, and between the level of television that's coming out here in the next couple months and the holiday season being a busy one, I think going forward it would be fair for everybody to not expect a weekly episode.
You might get one, you might not.
Even though next week probably one, because I still think we've got a lot of stuff to unload. But going into December and going into months after that, I think we're for our sanity, we're going to start putting a little less pressure on ourselves to be out every week and try and shoot more for that every other week kind of format.
And with that, I hope you guys are all enjoying the holiday season and that you enjoyed this episode, even though it was kind of chaotic and all over the place. But isn't that what life is these days?
Yep. And remember, if you're going to put a scarf on a snowman, make sure it's a hot one.
Thanks for listening to this episode of We Watch TV, a podcast about the TV shows we watch. You can find more from Hope and Daniel on Instagram at We Watch TV Podcast. Drop us a line if you like the show, have a question, or a recommendation. You can find Hope on Twitter at Lil Runner and Daniel on Twitter at The Real Hobo Dan. Music for today's podcast was provided by Your Tunes from Pixabay. Artwork was created using the AI program Midjourney with prompts written by Daniel.